Hello, welcome to It's Your Life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley. We got an absolutely fantastic show coming your way today. We got this young man that's going to educate us on a lot of different things that as it relates to disability rights and advocacy and a lot of other things. So I am excited, first of all, to be back. Secondly, I'm excited about this guest that we got on the show today. How you doing, Dr. Cooley? How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm glad you're back. And, this guest is going to educate us on a very important topic. And he's got a story to tell. He's got a story to tell to basically being your own advocate in this particular topic. And also just about overcoming challenges. So we're excited to have him.
Well, I tell you what. Hey, Todd, what are your thoughts, man? I know we getting ready to go prime time in a minute. How you doing today, man?
I'm always good, James. Welcome back. And I like that we've got two Jameses on the show. We got James and a James. And you talk about, in your promos and stuff, you talk about rising above and getting through adversity, and he sure does it. This is going to be an inspirational show, so we're going to lock in the radio. You ready to go?
I'm ready to go, man. And Dr. Bellin is on
your own. Just text straight to 76626 now and get access.
It's Your Life is sponsored by James J.C. Cooley.
Dr. James J.C. Cooley. The James Cooley Show. It's your life.
Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley. And wow, we got this absolutely fantastic guest coming on today. And he's going to talk about things that we all need to know, even if we do not possess a disability. But understanding the rights, advocacy, and other things. So I am excited. Todd, I'm excited to have this guest on today.
It's going to be a great guest. And, wow, what an amazing person James is, and such a great advocate for people that really need him. And he lives, he knows what it's like. So he's helping the people that's dealing with things that he's dealt with. So that's a great thing.
I had an opportunity to meet him when I was kicking off the syndicated show in studio, and had a sit-down conversation with him for a few minutes, and I knew right then and there we had to have him on the show. So how you doing, Dr. Michelle Cooley?
I'm doing great. And again, you're correct. This is going to be a very interesting show and a learning opportunity for the audience.
So I'm ready to get started. But I want to thank everybody for all the well wishes that you gave me last week and week before last. Well, I lost my daughter. We took care of everything. So we're back to full speed ahead. So Michelle, can you please introduce the title of the show, purpose of the show, and introduce this absolutely fantastic guest?
Oh, most definitely. So the title of today's show is Disability Rights and Advocacy. So we're having a sit-down discussion with James Anderson. He's the founder and CEO of James Cerebral Palsy Foundation. He's going to talk about the rights the government provides to those with disabilities, understanding the rights you are given, navigating the government system, and the importance of advocating for yourself. So James started this James Cerebral Palsy Foundation to enhance the quality of those living with different disabilities by providing resources, education, advocacy. He's the creator of revolutionary activity programs. He's a seasoned vet in public speaking and human intelligence. He has lived his entire life with cerebral palsy and epilepsy. James has had over 25 surgeries all over his body due to cerebral palsy and epilepsy. He had brain surgery, back surgery, right arm surgery, multiple surgeries, just to name a few. While he understands that the government in most cases requires a degree, he also believes that life experience outweighs any degree that could be given. He has experience interpreting in American Sign Language with the use of only one hand. Please welcome to the show, Mr. James Anderson.
How you doing, my friend? How you doing?
Good to see you again, and my condolences to both of you.
Thanks so much, man. Thanks so much, man. It's ever since I met you in the studio, and I've been thinking about this show, and I told Michelle to reach out to you as quickly as possible. So we are fortunate to have you here. We're very thankful, and our audience, I believe, they are really in for a treat on education. So, James, besides what Michelle read in your bio, and a little research that we have, can you please tell our audience a little bit more about you, where you grew up at, what makes you click, and why you're so passionate about what you do?
Well, first of all, I was born in Munster, Indiana. Raised the first 5 years of my life in Chicago, Illinois, actually the south side of Chicago, back in the 1980s. But I'm a native to San Diego. Cerebral palsy is a neurological disorder. So it's not typically you aren't diagnosed with it as an adult typically. The easiest way to describe cerebral palsy is it's the childhood version of an adult stroke. So that's the in most simplest terms to describe what cerebral palsy is. Cerebral palsy comes with various levels. So you have like what my case is, the mild level that I call. Then you have mildly severe, which is your upper extremity is affected, but your lower extremity is not, or your lower extremity is affected where you're required to use a walker and your upper extremity is not. And then the severe is such as a person in a wheelchair whose head's propped back, pretty much their entire life has to be handheld. There are some cases that I know of where a person with cerebral palsy can easily go out into the community on their own, feed themselves on their own. So it definitely brings a varying degrees of the disability. But my biggest thing in life is to see people with disabilities learn how to succeed. Learn that they have a voice inside them that is just yearning to come out, and it's helping them understand the way to utilize that voice. Navigating the system isn't even easy.
So it's a lot goes into utilizing and understanding the system. How old were you when you found out that you had this disease?
I was diagnosed at 8 months old.
8 months. So you had to learn everything. I mean, growing up, trials and tribulation, what you were going through. So what other people are going through and some of the things that you would recommend them to do. What are some of the challenges living with cerebral palsy and epilepsy?
Some of the challenges is there are certain things I cannot do that I need assistance with solely because I only have one hand to be able to use. My right side the entire right side is paralyzed, but the upper extremity is a lot more affected than the lower. So a lot of times some of the challenges are, I can't drive. So I'm bound to either bus, trolley, or Uber or Lyft or a ride from somebody. I haven't, thankfully, with the medication I haven't had a seizure in over 25 years, but there are not many neurologists that are going to stick their neck out to sign off on the agreement to allow a person to drive because they don't want to be liable if the person who's driving actually has a seizure while driving, because then that could mean their license as a doctor. So, it really depends on what the circumstances are.
So it depends on what the circumstances are, on what the challenges might be.
Each challenge is different and each circumstance is different. My nonprofit, we don't just support people with cerebral palsy. We support people across the board with disabilities. It doesn't matter whether you have cerebral palsy, cerebral palsy, ADHD, autism, Down syndrome, all the way up to disabled veterans from any war. So it's a broader range, and each circumstance, as I said, is different. So we gear our service at that time around the person's circumstance of what they're going through at the time. Could be from applying for CalFresh, or applying for Social Security, or applying for Medi-Cal. Other states call it Medicaid. So it depends on what the circumstance is at that time.
Wow. You know, man, I still going back to when I met you. I mean, smile on your face, happy, uplifting. If you had to pick one word, an adjective to describe who you are, what adjective would that be, James, and why?
A fighter.
Explain.
So when it comes to, I'll use what I usually use when I talk about the government. In government, there are two things that ring true. First, if it makes sense, why would they do it? And secondly, there are 4 types of speeds to anything. Slow, slow, slowest, and none. And half of the time, it's the none. So, for example, when it comes to helping a person fill out, or I'll use the Social Security, for example. A person who is applying for SSI, or Supplemental Security Income, as we call it, for the first time, you have to go through many levels of appeals. It's very rare that the Social Security Administration actually approves your case on the first time around. Ultimately, you have to get in front of a magistrate judge for them to officially approve or deny receiving Social Security. And that's what I mean by the types of speeds, and if it makes sense, why would they do it?
You're right. You have to go before the majesty and argue your case, and it's up to that individual only whether they're gonna grant you that options. And so, but yeah, James, we're gonna start a little bit. We're at 2 minutes before the break, but I really want to delve off into your foundation and all the things that you are doing, organizations that you reach out to, people that you are helping. You know, so how long? First of all, what's the name of your foundation?
James Cerebral Palsy Foundation.
Uh-huh. And let our viewers know where it's located.
Well, we have a mailing address. Currently, I run it out of my apartment, so typically I don't put my own personal address on the...
No, I'm talking about what city. This is the city, primarily.
Oh, just the city. Okay, Lakeside, California.
Okay. You know, I tell you, we're going to take a station break, but we're going to come back. We're going to pick it up, and I tell you, this is an extremely interesting topic. If you want to be part of the conversation, all you have to do is go to the platform that you're watching us on and ask any question in the comment section, or you can pick up the phone, dial 1-888-344-1170. Again, that's 1-888-344-1170. Remember, it's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity.
Let's go. It's the James Cooley Show. It's your life. Dr. James JC Cooley. All right. The James Cooley Show. It's your life. That's right.
Foundation thanks you in advance for your contribution.
Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, the true life coming of age story by James J.C. Cooley. Using humor, wit, and engaging storytelling, James paints a picture about his arrival in a rural deep south town and realization that life would never be the same. Cooley lays out his struggle to adjust from city life to country life and back again, sharing his hard-earned lessons to educate, encourage, and enlighten our next generation of leaders and heroes. Get your copy of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James J.C. Cooley, available on Amazon and everywhere books are sold.
Doctor James J.C. Cooley. The James Cooley Show. It's your life.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I got a good friend of mine, Dr. Balance Durham. I hope she pop in on this and join this conversation if she can still hear me. So this is such a valuable, important conversation to have an understanding of disabilities, rights, and advocacy. And as we was going to the break, James was saying that part of this, when you do have disabilities or a certain amount of disability, you have rights, and part of those rights are Social Security benefits, but it's not easy to get it. But a lot of people probably don't know that, James. But they can get it if their disability is enough to justify. Can you talk about that a little bit? And then I want to talk about your program.
All right. So I'll bring up the Social Security thing again, but I'd also like to talk about one of my favorite topics when it comes to disability rights: service animals, because most people don't know and the abuse that service animals provide and how it affects the rights people are given as well. But when it comes to Social Security, it's in a league of all its own. It's such a big organization, and it's not easy to navigate. You have to fill out the paperwork correctly. You have to get your doctor to fill out their portion. It's one thing about the government is that it's a paper trail. It's like when you go before the judge, paper trail, paper trail, paper trail. It doesn't matter if it's electronic or physical. It's just like if you go into a court hearing for a criminal or civil proceeding, they want to see the documentation as to why. And a lot of times the documentation that people give isn't good enough for the workers, so they just deny it. But to discuss a little bit about the rights of service animals, not many people know that the ADA, or Americans with Disabilities Act, which dishes out a lot of the rights that people are given, the Federal Department of Justice oversees service animals, and as well as the ADA. And there are actually two types of service animals that are deemed service animals. They made a provision about 5-6 years ago. It used to only be dogs. They implemented miniature ponies in that. And that came down to a federal lawsuit. And it came down to a cultural religious lawsuit. In the Chaldean culture, they deemed dogs as dirty in their religious culture, heavily in the Chaldean religious culture. But they don't see miniature ponies as dirty. So a Chaldean woman wanted to have a miniature pony because she saw in her religious culture that dogs were dirty. And the ADA, through the DOJ, said no. So she sued them. And through the lawsuit, it was settled to include a provision for miniature ponies.
Yeah, man, that's that is absolutely right and fantastic with service dogs, and it's a lot of other things that, especially the organization, Sunday, I forgot what you call it, K9 organization, where they provide service dogs to certain service members and certain folks in the community. I think that is so fantastic.
Now, I'd like to see somebody take a miniature pony on the bus and see how that goes.
Yeah, I don't know if that, James. I don't know if that can happen. It might. Hey, but
depending on the bus company, but they can't stop it regardless if it's covered under the ADA.
Oh yeah. Hey, let's talk about your nonprofit organization and some of the things that you can. You give our viewers and our listeners a brief description of what your organization is, what's the purpose of it, and what services you provide.
So the services vary. It depends on, as I said earlier, it depends on the situation at hand and what they're going through. But what we do is our primary focus is to get individuals with disabilities and their families to learn how to advocate for themselves by providing them the resources, education, and training. It's hard for me to put down everything when it comes to knowledge and experience that I've gone through on paper, to put it in a binder format for training, when everything's up in my head and the different situations are different for each person. Give an example, one of my clients had a couple issues. She had an issue with getting her Social Security benefits increased because she thought they were being decreased, but they flipped them, they divided them into two separate categories. And then she had a problem with her food stamps. I was able to help her due to the pandemic to get an increase on her food stamps and help her understand what the issue was with the Social Security. I primarily will go directly to the facility the first time around with them and or meet them there so that they can see firsthand how I deal with the employee or the representative of that agency.
Wow. Yeah. So your organization is team or how whatever you with other agencies, and you guys work together to ensure that if a person is lacking and that your advocacy to help them out. Which other organizations? You mentioned the food stamp agency.
It varies. The same client had an issue with her car insurance where a driver was his insurance had lapsed for 2 years. He was driving around without insurance for 2 years. And he backed up right into her car while it was parked in a parking lot, damaged the side door, and she was concerned, how am I going to pay this deductible? How am I going to pay the premium? Various things. And I told her, I said, okay. Make me your primary person that will go to bat for you with the insurance and let me deal with the headache. And through that, I was able to find out through the representative from her car insurance that if indeed the guy's insurance had lapsed for 2 years, she would not have to worry about the premium going up, about the deductible. They would waive all of that. And nothing would change for her. And it comes out like a week or two later that we find out through the insurance that his insurance had actually lapsed for 2 years. So she didn't have to worry about her deductible or her premium. And so the insurance actually would go after the other guy that hit her to recoup the money.
You talked a little bit about briefly about ADA.
Yes.
Can you tell our viewers and listeners exactly what is ADA? So
the ADA is the Americans with Disabilities Act. It was implemented with the help of Congress and the Senate back in the 1990s. It's actually a spin-off of the Rehabilitation Act. So when you are a pedestrian or, even if you're driving and you see a curb with like those yellow or blue plates in the ground, they're annoying to go over in a wheelchair or a scooter. I'll admit that. But those are for blind people. And the ADA requires that any new construction that goes on be required, as far as it pertains to like streets or sidewalks or something like that, that each of those plates go into the ground, because it assists blind people in knowing that they're walking up onto a curb.
So, how are employment rights protected for individuals with disability under this federal law, the ADA?
It kind of is both between the civil rights and the ADA rights. No business is allowed to discriminate based upon race, color, gender, creed, disability, and actually the IRS gives a incentive to employers that hire on people with disabilities. It's called the I'm flaking on the name, but it's the right to work tax credit. And depending on how long the individual with the disability is employed payment-wise by the company, the employer can get between a $2,500 and a $9,000 tax break annually per individual that they hire on with a disability. So small businesses could get massive tax incentives for hiring on people with disabilities. And it's not just people with disabilities, it also includes ex-offenders.
So you kind of threw me off. You said it also includes ex-offenders. What you mean?
Yes.
We got 2 minutes before the break, but what you mean by that?
So what I mean by that is ex-offenders who have paroled out of the prison system,
mm-hmm.
who are back a part of normal society.
Mm-hmm.
Businesses can get tax incentives for hiring on ex-offenders.
Wow, did not know that, man. So it's a lot of things out there that our public and our communities and anybody with a disability.
When we come back from the break, if you're okay with it, I'll talk a little bit about how I volunteered in the prison system for over 10 years.
Absolutely. I want to talk about it. I want to talk about that. And I'll tell you what, we got to take a station break. But we're going to come back. We're going to pick it up because we got a whole lot of more James to talk about. And I'll tell you what, whichever platform that you watch this on, you want to be part of the conversation, just go to the comments. Ask any question that you might have. I promise you, we'll get you an answer. Or you can pick up the phone and dial 1-888-344-1170 again. That's 1-888-344-1170. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity. Coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley.
Dr. James
thinks they're stuck in life or needs to understand that their current situation is not their final destination. Country Boy, City Boy, a journey that ain't over yet, is the unfiltered truth to provide hope for the future by challenging you to refuse to become a victim of life's circumstance and dare to become an overcomer, because a bigger, better, and more impactful life awaits you. Get the new audio version of his book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, by Dr. James Cooley, on Amazon or wherever books are sold.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, I tell you. Sometimes it's a party. Hey, Todd, sometimes it's all about having a party, man. I mean, enjoying certain things, and I mean, I'm talking about and taking in the moment. What are your thoughts so far, Todd?
Oh, it's a great show. James is very inspirational, and this is a great show for our listeners. Anybody that's dealing with, a cerebral palsy or epilepsy or any disability, and it's very interesting about the ADA. I can't believe it took till 1990 for them to sign the ADA, but it sounds like it's doing a lot to help people with disabilities.
Wow, man. I got to use this segment a little bit to give a shout out to my newest sponsor, Rosati Pieces of Temecula. Todd, if you ever in Temecula, man, you want to stop by Rosati Pieces pub in Temecula, man. They got the best deep dish pizza.
Oh, they got deep dish? All right.
Oh, man, I'm telling you. You know what? Hey, Todd, when I'm in studio next week, I'm going to stop by there and bring one of those, a couple of them in the studio. So if you're ever in Temecula, you want to stop by Rosati Pizza Pub in Temecula, California. I tell you, I mean, you won't be disappointed. It's more than just pizza. He has about another 15, 20, 30 items on the menu, and all of them are delicious. So I want to give Steve Silas a hand, man. And I tell you, I got you, Todd, when I come back next week.
Sounds good.
I want to get back to the show. James, you mentioned something when we was going into the break that you want to talk about. Let's pick it up. Let's go with that.
So I did prison ministry with Shadow Mountain for over 10 years. At a few different prisons. Donovan State Prison here in San Diego, McCain Valley Fire Camp, which is now closed, and La Cima Fire Camp. First of all, let me say that when there was a time when I had the opportunity with a friend of mine to go up to, separate from the prison ministry, had the opportunity to go up to McCain Valley Fire Camp and donate a billiards table along with billiards cues and the pool balls and stuff. And rarely is it that you actually have the opportunity to have an inmate treat you to lunch. They were having burgers because it's a fire camp. They eat well. And that burger was off the chain. One of the best burgers I've ever had. So, I can officially say there are inmates out there that can cook pretty darn good burgers. But one of the things I was blessed to do in Donovan State Prison, and typically the state of California, or any state, actually requires you be certified when you do sign language. I am not, but because I did it so long for this one inmate, and unfortunately he's doing life without the possibility of parole, I was able to interpret for him for like 7 years. And the neat thing is that, as I said, you're required to be certified under the state of California, but the local jurisdiction said, if he's not complaining, we're not complaining. I've actually worked in Donovan with some of the most famous inmates in there. Some very well recognizable names, such as Lyle and Eric Menendez, Tex Watson from the Manson clan, Sirhan. So I've worked with some top top well-known inmates. And one thing I can tell you, it's going to sound odd to your viewers, but one thing I can say is that I feel safer behind those walls than I do out here any day of the week.
Wow. I did not know. I did not know that. I didn't read that about you in your stuff when we were doing our research.
Yeah, it wasn't in there.
That's so important to give back like that, and to, I mean, James, we all make mistakes somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Right. We all have issues. We all have problems. We all do. We all are human. And a lot of people shun and turn their back on folks that are in prison because of the mistake that they might have made. But we, at least me, I have a heart that I want to help out everybody. And so that is so noble of you to share that. And it's, hey, thank you, my friend. Another upper level of newfound respect for you. Hey, I want to talk about, there is a ADA, as you mentioned, but there is a Rehabilitation Act as well. What's the difference between the two, and can you explain how?
Well, the ADA was actually an expansion of the Rehabilitation Act. So there were certain requirements under the Rehabilitation Act, but the ADA added more requirements, such as reasonable accommodations at work. And as I gave the example earlier with sidewalks and stuff, the ADA also brought in work rights for people with disabilities. So, for example, if there is an accommodation, because, okay, I'll use myself for an example. If I had to sweep up a stadium, say at like SeaWorld or the zoo or something like that, and I only have one hand, to try to put use the broom and put it in a dustpan is not easy at all. So therefore, they would have to make a reasonable accommodation to allow me to do a different job that is suited for my disability. And they couldn't discriminate based upon that. It also allows for providing equal pay, which should be, I mean, obviously should be a given, but you can't discriminate against a person pay-wise based upon, the fact that they have a disability. I mean, the ADA is so broad in what they do. The ADA in, say, like restaurants, the toilet is supposed to be to a certain height in the bathroom. The sink is supposed to be to a certain height in the bathroom. The toilet paper roll thing is supposed to be a certain height. So it puts more requirements in the businesses, especially when they're being reconstructed businesses or new buildings being built. Another thing it does is that it requires that. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Part-timers moment. But there are requirements there. That's what I was getting at. The only really time that it doesn't require that, for example, in a sidewalk, cities, counties, different government jurisdictions are not required, unless ordered by a court, to upgrade and put in handicap ramps in sidewalk in areas, even if it's asphalt. Say it's a rural area and it's asphalt, until that jurisdiction does a massive upgrade within that area. Say it's expanding a walkway area or something like that. As I said, unless it's court ordered, they're not required to do any upgrades. Same thing with buildings. If the building was until the building is done a massive upgrade, they're not the building owners aren't required to upgrade their facilities to ADA standards if, in fact, the building was built before the ADA was implemented. So there are different requirements, but there are also different exemptions there.
You mentioned, so certain businesses have to have certain things in there to support not just their clients without disability, but the clients that comes in that need that type of services. Have you ever had to, this is a tough question, have you ever went to, suppose I say a restaurant or something like that, and they did not have those requirements, and did you ask about that?
No, not necessarily, because I myself am more ambulatory. Plus, a number of years ago, we had an issue where we had a corrupt organization cross country that was suing every single business out there that didn't meet the standard, and there was no reason for the lawsuit. They would hire on a person with a disability who's either in a wheelchair or whatnot, didn't even have to enter the business, and they would say, this is not up to standard, and then the company would threaten a lawsuit against the business owner for not having it in standard, but they would offer them like a settlement amount to just make it go away.
Hold that thought. I think I know what you're talking about. That was like 6 years ago.
Yep.
I know exactly what you're talking about. And we're going to talk about that when we come back. We're going to take a station break. James is sensational. I mean, a lot of times, all we had to do is listen, listen, and learn. And James is really giving us an education on disability rights and advocacy, and also a lot more information. If you want to be part of the conversation, all you have to do is just go to the comments on whichever platform. We got 60, 66, 67 different platforms that are live right now. All you do is just ask any question you might want. Or you pick up the phone, call Todd. Call Todd at 1-888-344-1170. Again, call Todd at 1-888-344-1170. He'll put you through, and you can talk to me and James. It's your life. We'll see you shortly after the break.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley.
Dr. James J.C. Cooley. The James Cooley Show. It's your life. Dr. James J.C. Cooley. The James Cooley Show. It's your life. The James Cooley Show. It's
Hello, I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley from the United States of America, and I am here to just say, first of all, I'm so happy and honored to be honored to be in the Coffee Book 2023, Unified Brain Z, and the other organizations. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this collection. Welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I got this absolutely fantastic guest that is truly educating us on a lot of things that James is talking about. I mean, I did not know a whole lot. I did know about what he was saying toward the end about there was a perpetrator out there that's in jail right now for taking advantages of businesses and individuals as well. And there are rules and regulations that you can't do that under no circumstances. What happened in San Diego 6 years ago, I think 6, maybe 8 years ago. But I remember during that time frame. And James, talk about that a little bit more, because if we have businesses that are listening or organizations, they need to know that these schemes happen. What do you think?
Well, to businesses and organizations, I mean, like I said in the beginning, when you asked, what is one of my business, keeps me going, to be able to succeed, it's fighting. Don't give into the realm of, I'll just pay the fee to get them off of my back and, not have a lawsuit. There are attorneys out there that will fight for you either pro bono or on contingency to win your case against abuse like this. It's unbelievable how much abuse is out there. But at the same time, don't abuse those with disabilities. And what I mean by that is I'll give 2 examples. One of them, which I think your viewers are going to be shocked with. So again, as I said in the beginning, I take the city bus and trolley. And during the pandemic, while masks were required across the country, including the state of California, the state of California had a medical exemption clause in place for masks for certain medical conditions. And there was a laundry list of exemptions. As the whole thing, and MTS, the city bus company, San Diego Metropolitan Transit System, adopted that policy. And they adopted it in a way of inform, not enforce. Very similar to the Service Animal Act, where you're only allowed as a business to ask 2 questions. Is that animal a service animal? And what type of service does that animal provide? If a person answers both of those, you're to drop it. Well, under the policy for the mask exemption, the only question MTS allotted the drivers to ask, or the employees, whether it was a security guard, a driver of the trolley or the bus, whatnot, is, do you have a medical condition that exempts you from wearing a mask? And if a person said yes, that's where they had to drop it. I had one driver, as the whole mask mandate was phasing out, that I was the last passenger of the day, last bus of the day, on my way home. And this driver, as I'm getting off the bus, says, even retarded little girls in wheelchairs can put a mask on. I was stunned at his boldness to even say that. This was a Saturday. And so I filed a complaint online, but I knew that complaint wasn't going to hit the boss's desk until Monday. The driver admitted to his boss before that he said that directly to me to insult and discriminate against me.
Hey, James, hold up. I think we got a caller that he done called you out by name, man. Hey, Todd, do we have that caller there? Todd. Okay, I don't think the control room can hear me.
I do see one on chat, though.
No caller. It was just a comment.
Oh, just a comment? Oh, okay.
The comment reads, the caller wanted to give James props for implementing sidewalk on 70th Street by Alvarado Hospital.
Thank you so much. That was a task in itself. Okay, so back in 2012, I got hit by a car. received a compound fracture in my left side, my strong side, tib fib. Medicare did not approve a wheelchair at the time or a scooter at the time for me because, they didn't have enough evidence there too. But there was another organization that supports me that, picked up that cost as a rental. And in 2015, I had to have another surgery on that same leg because they found out 2 of the screws that were put in were broken and bent. So they had to go and take out all the old hardware and put new hardware in. I was on my way to an alumni breakfast at my former school out there that only services those with disabilities. It's a private school, but they get state and federal funding because the only clients that they serve are those with disabilities. And because even though I was,
James, we're down to the last minute of the show, and can you tell our viewers and our listeners how they can support your organization? So you got 30 seconds of this.
Okay. So first of all, we have a donation page on our website. Financially, we definitely need supporting. We also have a fundraiser coming up August 31st, which you can find that flyer on our website at James CPF. That's CP like cerebral palsy, F as in foundation.org. $50, it's a bowling fundraiser at Aztec Lanes, SDSU. You can also book your spot online.
I tell you what, we're going to put that information where they can reach out to you. James, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show. Man, you're absolutely fantastic. Yes, I would love to have you back again one day if your schedule permits. I'd like to thank Dr. Michelle Cooley for putting together another absolutely fantastic show. I'd like to thank my producer, Todd Pirate, San Diego, KCBQ AM 1170 Answer, FM 96.1. Most importantly, I'd like to thank our viewers. And our I'm back.
Diabetes, blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes.